All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Subspace Developer Sync. Everybody's going to go around and give updates on what they've been working on. Leo, can you start us off today, please?
Yeah, sure. I'm going to do a fast share screen to show what I've been mainly working, actually. I have this task to define like the workflow, right, that we are going to be doing on every network start or relayer launch. So I have been working in a documentation trying to compile all the steps that we need in terms of defining resources and configuring these resources. I don't know if you can read like the overview here, and trying to compile them to actually have a centralized, defined way, and have some kind of clarity in terms of what we are using in DigitalOcean, and in terms of domains and several resources that we need to actually start importing the data to the relayer and everything. So I've been mainly working with this in this documentation, trying to compile all of this, like I said, and another is general rules and conventions in terms of naming of the resources, of authentication best practices, and system settings and everything. Kinds things like I don't know how to launch a public RPC, set the certificates, and everything. Yeah, so I've been working in this. Like I said, I have several definitions, and I will be sharing all this in the Terraform template. Why? Because I am trying to automate everything that I can automate from Terraform, and defining another tasks to do manually or by scripting, kind of importing and defining the storage and importing the data to the network. And yeah, I think that's my update for now in terms of what I've been working in the last days. It has been a lot because actually I had a lot of nodes of previous nodes extracted from other needs, and I have been adding all this to this documentation. I don't know if you have questions, guys. Also, I've been testing the like locally all this download process and the scripts that Nazar sent me. So I've been mainly working in these testings to have this workflow automated.
Okay, thanks for that update, Leo. That's all really important stuff. We need to get better defined. What is the current status of the deployment for Aries and the relayer and all that?
It's already done, actually. Yeah. And the status is like I have all like manually set it or defined it. So I have all this process, and I can just copy paste a sequence of commands, and I launch the droplets. I install the Docker images, launch the network, and start the relayer like in live mode.
Okay, and
I
the
am
relayer.
waiting the last relayer pull request, I think, regarding the block imports. So I think that's the next step, to add this import from the downloaded blocks, right? From the downloaded data.
And
And
this is all
having that,
running.
will be have all this workflow done.
Okay, and this is all running on the same instance right now.
Yeah, in the same instance, but in this new Terraform, I have two definitions, like the current state and the ideal state that will be maybe decoupled, at least in terms of storage.
Are they in the same container or separate containers?
Right now, it's in the same container, everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's probably the first thing we need to work on, is splitting this between different containers.
Oh, that's the other way that I have defined it, that I am defining actually. Like having the boot node in one container, the public RPC in one container, and the farmer in another container. So in the future, we can just copy paste these declarations and run another farmer or run another testnet and everything.
Are you talking about droplets or containers?
Droplets.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry. I mean, they are called containers in the Daluser, so.
How should it be, Nazar? Should it be different containers on the same droplet? All
No,
one container on one droplet?
Term container is like Linux container, not the machine. That's why I was confused.
Right. So which way do you think it should be?
I think whatever works right now. Really.
Yeah.
Okay. Any feedback on what Leo showed us? All right. Thanks, Leo. All right, Justin, you're up next.
Yeah. Over the past couple days, end of last week, I got the status page fully started up and everything. Very quickly identified a bug that I need to get fixed, which I'll be getting fixed today once I get my internet up and running again. Beyond that, honestly, my largest focus has mostly been on the business side. I've been spending a lot of time working on the ambassador program with Diana, running through interviews and working on, getting kind of the onboarding and education materials prepared for that. That's kind of been my major focus over the past couple days. Kind of a smaller update on my end.
Okay. And so the testnet went down over the weekend, and the status page showed that it was still live. So what are we going to do going forward so that we get some kind of notification that the that the testnet is down? Because right now it feels like the only way to actually know is just to literally check it, like, manually.
Yeah, and I think that was just like an edge case that I missed on my end. The status page did show that it was no longer getting blocks. It just didn't flip like the actual, like, hey, it's down, variable. And then like we were discussing the other day, I'm going to also include the Discord notifications into the testnet chat channel, so we all get notified as soon as it goes down, and we can just immediately see that pop up in there. I wasn't sure, did we want to do like a tag into that, where I could do like @developers, and that way we all get notified, or would we all prefer to just have it be a message?
No, I think it should be a notification, because that's a big deal if the testnet goes down. I think everybody should get notified of that immediately.
Okay, so I'll just set it there in that case to tag the developer group, and then that way we're all just immediately notified as soon as that goes down moving forward.
Is there any period for how long it should be down before notification goes up? Like if Leo decides to restart it and it takes like 30 seconds, probably we shouldn't be all notified.
Exactly. So it does allow us to configure like how many times it wants us to check before we get notified. The standard I've been going with is 3. I just, after three checks, it'll notify us, and then we can also set the time per check, which is currently set at 60 seconds. So 3 minutes of it being down, we should get notified. And that's, like I mentioned, we can configure that to shorter or longer if we want.
Okay. And let me just share my screen here. I had a question about the status page, Justin. Can you see this?
Yes.
Okay. So you said that it showed it was down, but it didn't flip something. Like, all I can see, like, all I ever see here is just 100%. But like, is there a detail view or some other way I can know? Like how would I have seen that it was down if I had tried to get more information other than just going to the website?
So there is a dashboard, like admin panel. If you go to like /dashboard URL, I have the login, but I don't think I added it over to Bitwarden yet. Let me see if I can.
Okay,
I can
so that's something.
Bitwarden for you, and then that way we can all have access to that dashboard page. with just a little bit more detail. And I honestly wanted to get some of that more information transferred over to just the main view page, but I figured that was something we could iterate on as we move forward.
And we can't just make that information publicly accessible in the dashboard?
Not as it's currently configured. I'm sure I can switch it up, get some of that information to display on the status page. But just because the main dashboard is where you also add monitors and configure things, so it's like a restricted access page. Because of that.
There's not like a read-only dashboard?
Right, like the read-only page is the one you're currently on, and then there's the admin dashboard, which has details.
Okay. Okay. Is there, we might want to think about then if this is the right tool that we want to use, because it's, like most monitors, you can get like a detailed view, because this is I mean, it looks nice, but like it doesn't really I don't know, it just doesn't feel like it's honest right now, or like there's a lot that's missing from it. So we need to figure out like how we can expose like the details, or maybe we need to find a different tool if this one's not going to work for us. But definitely at a minimum, we want to share the admin password with the entire developer team at Bitwarden, so that anybody can go in there, and we can all just have this as our default setting that we can go in and get the detailed view. But this should be something that anybody should be able to see, not just the team.
Definitely, yeah, I'll look into that and see if it shouldn't be too hard to get that set up, but if it does give us any issues, I'll explore some other tools for us that might be a little bit more cooperative.
Okay. Okay, thanks, Justin. Any questions or feedback for Justin? All right, Nazar, you're up next.
The first thing is I've added a bunch of explanations for some of the parameters we use on the network in the source code that Liu-Cheng requested, basically explaining what some of the things are and why we selected the parameters that we selected for the network and what are the implications. I also fixed two problems in the testnet that we've discovered. One was related to the fact that we had two farmers running early on the network when we have very quick block production. And also, since all the farmers store all of the data, they basically had the same plot. So they were racing pretty closely. And the network diverged beyond more than 10 blocks. And when it resynced, some of the archived history was incorrect at that point, because we switched from one fork to another, and that made other clients being unable to sync because validation was failing for some part of the history. So that was the first problem, and the other problem was the bug in the archiver. Basically, when we slice the block at some point, and that point happens to be the beginning of some object, we were incorrectly assigning object to the previous history segment instead of the next one, and it wasn't able to find offset, and it was crashing. So that was the second fix. I also made it work for the full client, such that full client can expose RPC without being validator. That was a requirement before. So you probably want to tweak our testnet a little bit. For instance, connect the farmer to the bootstrap node, but on the public RPC node, we can disable validator flag and just expose only safe RPC. And I also tweaked a little bit downloader for the Kusama and parachains to use HTTP instead of WebSockets, so we don't have to deal with different types for different chains. So it's universal. And also I've downloaded all of the parachains, all of the uploaded them all to DigitalOcean, and also shared torrent links or torrent files on the Google Drive. So everyone should be able to download the whole history as of a few days ago. And I was also working on the pilot testing. I basically have everything prepared. I'm just waiting for Todd to submit a table with like all of the parameters that should be there. And that will be the next pull request. Yeah, and lots of different things like pull requests and meetings and everything during the last few days.
All right, thanks, Nazar. Any questions? Okay, Serge, you're up next.
Okay, so there was an issue reported by Leo last week. Unfortunately, I couldn't reproduce it locally, and then Relayer was restarted, so it was not reproducible in the end. Apart from that, I was during the weekend updating PR for processing Kusama blocks from archive, and it was merged today. And also I have started to process parablocks from archive today, and I downloaded one parachain, and so currently we were using Polkadot API to connect with RPC, which is not very usable for parachains because otherwise we might need to provide custom types. So instead, I will replace this Polkadot WebSocket API with HTTP API requests. And we also already have a bunch of requests in different parts of the relayer. So I will collect, I also already collected them into one module. So it will be a little bit more structured. And yeah, I think tomorrow I will finish parachains. And if there won't be any outstanding issues, yeah, I would like to discuss what I'm gonna do next because I don't have anything prioritized next. That's it.
Okay, thanks for the update, Serge. I've got a bunch of questions actually. First off, have we tested uploading Kusama locally from anything from the file system to get a new throughput on that?
Since last week, no.
Okay. Have we completely removed the dependency from the network for that?
Yes.
Okay. Is there anything stopping us from starting the upload process for Kusama by itself?
I think no. Everything is ready.
How long do you think that'll take for 40 gigabytes?
Oh, I don't know.
Okay. Can we start that like right now, like on a dev node, so that we can test it?
On a local node?
In the cloud, like on a machine that we could flip over to. So what I'd like to do, I guess I'll stop back, pause a second here. So we have the testnet running, and it is working with the relayer in real time, but it's not backing up the history, right? And so what I'd like to do is start another instance of the testnet or another Bootstrap node in isolation and back up Kusama on it and do this in DigitalOcean and see how long that takes. My guess right now is it's going to take a week. Maybe I'm being pessimistic, but that's my guess. I'd like to start that as soon as possible so we can know how long it's going to take. Because if we wait a week, then we're 2 weeks out from having it working. So I'd like to do that. And then as soon as we have Kusama backed up, then I'd like to do what Nazar calls a blue-green deployment of switching over the RPC from the testnet of the real-time relayer to a testnet of Kusama backed up from Genesis. Okay, I don't want to have to like restart the testnet and wait a week for us to upload Kusama before we can make the testnet live again, because we can't really make the testnet live until we finish that backup, until we finish that seeding process, right? So my estimate is that if we start that today, maybe in a week it'll be done. And in the meantime, we can work on getting all the parachains connected as well and like tweaking that process. And then maybe by the time we've got parachains working, then we can start it over again with parachains and Kusama. And on like the third try, then maybe we can have like the whole testnet, Kusama network archived. And then do another transition of like that, like DevNet or whatever we want to call it, like isolated testnet into the testnet that we point to from the Polkadot.js apps and that we show like on the website. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so basically we need to deploy another Bootstrap node and deploy another instance of Relayer and start it in an archive mode. And just focus on Kusama for now.
Yeah, because I'd like to figure out what the actual throughput is, and then start like you and Nazar trying to figure out how to like tweak that or like increase, like figure out what the bottleneck is and see what we can do to improve that. Like we should be able to get to the point where if we have to reboot the testnet, we have all this data saved on this volume, and within a day or less, we should be able to upload everything and reseed the history. Because this data is only going to get bigger, right, as we add in Ethereum and Bitcoin and all the other networks. And I don't think we've hit the fundamental limitations of Substrate yet. I think it's issues more with RocksDB or our implementation or who knows what. But I think that there's probably still room for improvement, but we need to start figuring that out.
One thing that we haven't discussed, we have no idea how to implement, is this transition from archive mode to processing real-time blocks. This is something we were planning to tackle. Is this okay if we launch like this without clear understanding?
I don't understand what you mean. I thought you said that was handled in the code.
No, we have processing in archive mode, right? So we process blocks from the RocksDB. So when we finish processing blocks from RocksDB, what happens next?
We start requesting from the network.
To transition to live mode automatically.
So we don't have any automatic transition right now.
Okay, that's a to-do.
So I will work on this first, right?
Let's work on uploading Kusama. I mean, I think after you get Kusama uploaded, it'll be a week till we need to transition anyway. So I think we can start the Kusama upload testing. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I will create a ticket for that. Anything else?
No, I think that's it. We can talk about it more on the call tomorrow if there's any updates.
Okay, cool.
All right. Thank you, Serge. And any other questions or comments from the group for Serge? Okay. Ozgun, you're up next.
Sure. So I was working on phase 3 implementation all week. My first trials were not in the right direction, but fortunately, I was checking with Nazar and he provided invaluable feedback. And with these feedbacks and some more self-learning on top of it, I think I finally grasped the idea of how to do the farming in an asynchronous way with in an interruptible way. Like my understanding of async programming evolved 4 to 5 times throughout the week. I also wrote some minimal projects just to prove myself that my understanding is correct. And I believe till the next meeting, I mean Wednesday, phase 3 will be ready as a pull request. And while mentioning pull requests, like there has been lots going on thanks to Liu-Cheng, and I was trying to review all of them, like learn from it. That was also taking some time. Yeah, these two are basically summarizing my week.
Okay, thanks, Ozgun. Look forward to getting more updates about that in the next call. And we still need to schedule a farmer call, or I think we had to reschedule the farmer call for this week because of Substrate builders. We'll talk about that at the end. Okay, any questions for Ozgun? All right, thanks, Ozgun. All right, Liu-Cheng, you're up next.
Okay. So the brand thing I have been working on is the documentation. I put it on the GitHub issue. You guys can check it on the issue number 18, and half of them has been done. And so no new features. Mostly about the documentation with some refactorings to improve the code quality and make it well understood, or well at least for me. And the other thing is like things over last meeting about the decoupled execution. I have been looking into the code of Substrate on the related topic, like the block building, like how this data rules is handled in current Substrate implementation. And I have put them into the HackMD, and you can check it out at the Substrate exploration section. No clear direction on the decoupled execution. Mostly on the implementation details for the research. Yeah, this is it on my end.
Can we create a section on our Notion and move documentation there?
Okay. So because you know it's a little messy, so I'm not sure. So do you mind if the documented is not like it's not well written?
Well, it's fine. Like it's there.
Okay. Sure. I can move it to Notion. Okay.
Yeah, I second that. All of our stuff is really messy in Notion, so it's okay. Don't worry about that. But it is better to have it kind of consistently all in one place.
Okay.
And I like HackMD, don't get me wrong, but we chose to use a different tool. Okay. Sounds like good progress, Liu-Cheng. We'll discuss that in more detail in the next call, and we also need to set up another call we forgot to do recurring for the decoupled execution. We got to find some time to slide that in this week to have another discussion on that. We can talk about that on the protocol call.
Okay.
All right. Any questions or comments for Liu-Cheng? Okay. All right. On my side, I've been working mainly on business tasks related to financial matters, and we are the big thing that's coming up this week is that we have the milestone review with Substrate builders. It was supposed to be tomorrow. It was rescheduled for Wednesday, so everybody should have gotten the invite for that. Make sure that you accept that you're aware of that. It's this time on Wednesday, basically in 48 hours. Everyone on this call, aside from you, Justin, needs to be there for that. You're welcome to attend, don't get me wrong, but you don't need to be there. And we are going to, it's about a 1 hour long call. We have to give a presentation on what we're doing. Nazar and I are going to be taking care of the actual deck, so to speak, or it's just something to kind of keep us moving along. It's not like a nice pitch deck or anything like that. It's just going to be mainly content. Nazar and I are going to put that together, but kind of like the last call we had with them where you guys gave lightning demos of 1 or 2 minutes each, this is going to be more like lightning overviews, lightning talks, I guess you could say, where it's going to be more like you're going to spend about 5 minutes explaining your code, like literally pulling up GitHub and saying, hey, this is what I've been working on. This is the overview of the code at a very high level. And this is, what it does, where it's at, where it's going, and about 5 minutes to go through that. So with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, that's about 30 minutes of code presentations we're going to give. We need time for Q&A. I'm going to have to give an overview at the beginning, probably an overview at the end. So that's going to take about 40 minutes with 20 minutes for questions. That's the way that talk is going to go. So we have a call. Okay, so that's at 7 a.m. on Wednesday, my time. So what we need to do is actually have we need to have a rehearsal for that prior to, just to make sure that we're all straight. So we will have a call 1 hour before normal. I'll add that to the schedule with everybody. Hopefully it won't take the full hour. Hopefully it'll take 30 minutes. We'll just do a quick overview, and then we'll have some time left over in between for the next call. We can just discuss whatever we need to as a group at that time. So yeah, so just make sure, just heads up, make sure you're prepared to talk about what you've been working on for the last 2-3 months since we got into Substrate Builder, so that we can give a presentation. Also, of course, be prepared to have a demo. I don't think we need to give demos this time since we did that last time, but just in case they want to see, just, you know, be prepared, like have it in the background so that you can switch into your console or your terminal and run a demo of whatever it is that you've been building as well. Any questions on that? Okay. The other thing, like I said about the testnet, we need to get the testnet into a mode where, one, when it crashes, we know, we fix it, we get it online again ASAP, and we need to basically have almost three networks is really what we should be moving towards. We need to have, like, when Nazar finishes a new version of the code, or when Nazar and Liu-Cheng and Ozgun together finish a new version of the protocol, we should, like, they're running it on their machines locally and testing it, or at least I know Nazar is up for like a large number of blocks, and that's fine, but the way it performs on a local machine is never the same as the way it performs over a network, of course. So we need to deploy that to a network and have a handful of nodes, like maybe 2-3 nodes connected to it, and let that run for some amount of time. Let's just say a day. I don't know, maybe eventually it'll be a week. We need to let that run for some amount of time. And if it runs with no issues, and that means like with a relayer or with whatever should be connected to it as well, we need to let that run for some amount of time. Hopefully there's no bugs, it doesn't crash, it doesn't break. And then once we're satisfied, yep, this is good, then we can move it to our test net, so to speak. And when we move it to the test net, then we should basically just switch some endpoints around, so that, like, our services look like they go down for 30 seconds or a minute, but it's not like we have to stop, you know, the current node that we have and then restart and reseed and do all that. And if there's a seeding process, then obviously that's going to take time that should be done in the background before we do that switch over. So that's what we need to start moving towards in our sort of deployment workflow as we have more of a live test net, especially as we have more of our team and more of our community running nodes on the test net, which we expect to have very soon. Like within the next few weeks, we should probably have community members. We have like just people lined up, like begging to run a node for the test net so they can start testing it for us, like in our Telegram and our Discord channels. So yeah, so that's what we need to, like the mindset we need to get into for thinking about how we're going to do this as we move forward. And of course, once we move to other iterations of the testnet next year, then it needs to be even more robust, especially as we get into a mainnet later next year. Yeah, I think that's about it on my side. Any questions from me? Okay, thanks everybody for watching. We will see you guys in a couple days for our next meeting.